No, I mean, it's hard to say if you're over it, but I think they were much more relaxed and really the energy today was much better than last week. You know, you saw it on the sideline, you saw it with the guys, the demeanor, their play, all of that, and it's things that we talked about during the week, and you know, it's about how we respond, and the guys responded extremely well today.
A good effort and a much-needed win. We welcome you into Jags A.M. here on Victory Monday from England. We are at Hanbury Manor for our first Jags A.M. in London, you guys, and it's a good one.
I believe it's pronounced Hanbury Manor.
Hanbury Manor.
And you're right. It is a good one. You could feel the pressure building for this team. It was internal, right? The questions that were asked of coaches and players they got tired of, and they were ready. They were ready to put that past them, and the win means that they can enjoy this week.
John, I don't know if we called it a must-win, but we felt like they needed to win, right?
Well, it wasn't a must-win in the standings, but short of that, it sure felt like this team needed confidence. It needed, as Brian said, to get those questions out of the way. I don't want to see him breathing easy, Brian, because this is still it's 2-2, but it gets you back to even. Everybody in the AFC South is 2-2.
Well, when I say enjoy the week, you know it's a much better week to prepare, especially for a Bills team that's coming in. They're just walloping people. You saw what they did yesterday. They've done that 3 weeks in a row. And so you can prepare a little looser because last week Trevor had said over and over and over they need to play loose, they need to play free. If they had lost on Sunday at Wembley, they would have played so tight. It would have just made for an awful week of dealing with the media and being away from home. This takes a little of that pressure off and lets them play free.
And not for nothing, but we all think we know everything about the NFL, right? Houston, not so bad.
All right, go figure it out, right? The Titans got beat by Cleveland 2 weeks ago, 2 Sundays ago, 27-3.
Yeah.
And yesterday they beat the Bengals 27-3. And you just look throughout the NFL, and it's who's good and who isn't. Well, I know who is. These Bills that are coming to London this week, they're good.
And the way the early season is played out, it couldn't be more appropriate that this division, everybody's 2-2, because that's what it's felt like, Guy.
Absolutely. Let's get to our big things this week because there were some big things. They finally got a win. So we're talking here on Victory Monday. That'll do is our first big win. The offense had some issues. They haven't quite figured it all the way out, but that one beautiful drive where we saw them convert on the 4th down and then get the touchdown throw to Calvin Ridley was something we are hoping to see more of going throughout the season. Christian Kirk talked about after the game about why this was such a big win.
It's tough. You know, winning in this league is tough, and especially when you're losing, it's even harder. So when you go to back-to-back losses, it weighs really heavy on you, weighs heavy on the locker room. And so you're just doing everything that you can to put together a performance like we did today and just be able to get a win. And, you know, being able to come into the locker room and the sideline, just the energy and seeing the smiles on everybody's face. It's, you know, you never take this stuff for granted winning in the NFL. So, like I said, just great for us to get this thing back on track and get our confidence back.
Guys, I talked to some of the players post-game kind of describing that touchdown throw, that drive itself, but it was kind of like you could release the breath as if everyone was holding their breath and finally like, it's just like a breath of fresh air for everybody. And just to get that monkey off Calvin's back, kind of score and then let everybody else play a little freer.
I thought that 4th down throw was the play of the game. And I know you could talk about Josh Allen's strip sack that ended it or the Calvin touchdown that it set up. But it just felt like, okay, they were struggling a bit. They were 1 of 3 on 3rd down to that point. It felt like we were watching the same offense. And then Doug said, go for it at the 38, which obviously is the right decision, but not the field goal. Let's go for it. And so instead of trying to hand it off, which hasn't worked very well for this team, he put it in the hands of the quarterback and let him make the play with his guy, with Christian Kirk. And it was an absolute laser. I thought that was the game-defining play because it said, enough. We're going to play like we play. And, of course, they weren't perfect the rest of the way, but they were much better, and you heard Doug say that off the top.
Well, I'm with you. I thought it was a big play. I thought overall the game, you know, it's hard to say it was a great offensive effort because they had 300 yards and they only had 1 touchdown. But Doug and the players talked, and I agree with them. There were moments in the second half that were really important, getting out of the shadow of their own end zone when, you know, if you weren't aware of the score, it felt like the Falcons had momentum for about 20 minutes. And each time the Jaguars sort of had a heavy lift to get out of it. They went down and got a field goal, the Ridley play. They had big moments in the second half that didn't result in touchdowns, but it does feel like something you can build toward. And right now, that's what this team's looking for. They're looking for things, okay, this is what we did. Now let's keep getting better and better and better. This is sort of a building block motion, Kai. That's what that is right there.
I'm very impressed.
John
You're
builds
outside,
things.
so now you're doing
Yeah.
building block motions.
Yeah.
It's very performative. I'm impressed.
I like that.
Let's go to our big thing number 2, which is money, money, money. Josh Allen is in a contract year, and he sure looks like he's playing for that money. But he's getting help from his teammates as well. A lot of those were coverage sacks, kind of set up, schemed that way. But Josh talked a little bit post-game about the importance of working with his teammates throughout the year.
It's definitely progression. I think we let him off the hook a little bit beginning of that second half to give him that touchdown. So there's still room for improvement up front, and especially for the whole defense to not allow that to happen. But that's a heck of a way to fight, heck of guys to make their plays when the number was called. And for my performance, man, I couldn't do a lot of it without the guys in front of me. So I had Foley to help me push the pocket as well, to help me get that one. And then Trey Herndon for the inside blitz quarterback, rolled out right into me. In the second one, I told the DBs just to give me a little bit more time. So, so it's definitely a collection of everybody working together. But that process starts in practice. So we continue to practice hard, continue to communicate. Good things may come.
Pass rush isn't exactly where we want it to be, but you can't fault Josh for what he's been doing so far this season, John. He's been really impressive in the games where he hasn't been hurt. I will say against the Chiefs he was hurt, but other than that,
He's my
good.
hot take, so I'm not going to,
All right, you don't want to
it's
dish
really
all
hot,
of it
so
yet.
I'm not
Boiling hot.
I'm not going to ruin it. But the defense, there were such expectations for this offense that fans now look at it, and every time the offense doesn't score, I get emails saying this season's over. It's all well. Right now, credit the defense for keeping this team afloat. This offense will get to where it's supposed to go. I think there's too much to not believe that. I still maintain that Josh Allen and these defensive players, they are giving you something to believe in for when that offense gets hot. I think it still shapes up well, Brian, and I am Mr. Optimist this morning.
Always. Let's
Well,
go.
Josh was really good, and Trayvon Walker needs to get credit for the play that he made on Desmond Ridder on that final fourth down throw. Ridder saw Trayvon bearing down on him and had to leave his feet to throw the ball high. Even though you had Drake London in the back of the end zone, 6'5", he had to go up so high to get it. He had no chance to put his legs down. That play was made by Trey Herndon in the back, but it was also made up front by Trayvon Walker. I get it. Walker is not performing, sack-wise like Aiden Hutchinson is, and that's the comparison right now. But it wasn't just Josh Allen up front. Roy Robertson-Harris was pushing the pocket. You heard Josh mention Foley Fatukasi. There's a lot of reasons to believe in this team. We knew that Foye Oluokun was going to have a good game. We kind of questioned what Chad Muma might give. And early on, he was left standing there watching as Bijan Robinson went by. But late in the game, where there was a wide-open screen to Robinson, he got his hand up and deflected the pass. There were a lot of guys that made plays yesterday.
On the defensive side of the ball. I'll couch that a little bit. The offense we saw good, but a lot of defense yesterday in all different facets.
I thought that was what we were talking about.
Yes, of course. We'll get to that later on in the show. Our final big thing, though, is going to be former Falcons because, as you mentioned, Foye Oluokun, but also Calvin Ridley, as we mentioned, also played in Atlanta. And Foye was a big part of the defense and just the way he controls the defense and the way he communicates with everybody.
He had a huge play. I think it was early in the fourth quarter. They set up a screen, and it was Robinson. And he had two blockers in front of him, and he had room to go. It was going to flip the script. And Foye read it perfectly and dropped him for a 3-yard loss. And people might gloss over that play in the big scheme of things, but that set up second and long, which the Jaguars then forced them to punt. So it was a great play.
It shouldn't be glossed over at all. I thought it was a play that does get glossed over and hidden, like a lot of plays do in the NFL. The Falcons had momentum in a big way. I think at that point they were driving to make it a one-possession game. Yeah. But, boy, it felt like they were getting back into it. To create the situation where all of a sudden the Falcons were in long yardage, I do key plays. I did 6 of them yesterday. That probably should have been one of them. It was that big. And he had a good game, which you expected. And this defense, I keep talking about it. I guess Josh Allen's playing like a superstar right now because of the
6 sacks in 4 weeks, yeah.
But overall, I said before the season, all of a sudden you looked at it and there were no weaknesses on this defense. There was no spot where you said, ooh, this scares me a little. So far through 4 games, with the exception of the Houston game, it's played like that. You could probably, if you're sitting there making big plays, you could probably make a case that all 11 starters have made at least one where you went, oh, okay, that mattered. I don't think there's any all-pro guys on this defense, maybe Josh Allen, but there's a lot of really good players right now.
And you mentioned former Falcon Calvin Ridley. He had the 30-yard touchdown, but as big was the pass interference.
Sure.
He was open a lot, and he was frustrated at points yesterday because Trevor was not sending the ball down the field. That particular play, you could see Trevor just wind up and let it go, knowing he was either going to catch it or he was going to get the PI.
Yeah, the pass interference, even beyond the 30-yard play, it looked like a miscommunication on the touchdown. So, great play. I don't know that Calvin Ridley, being Calvin Ridley, necessarily created that.
That was a great play by Trevor Lawrence to shake the defender off.
But the interference penalty is exactly why you went and got Calvin Ridley, because a big play in a big moment, that his ability created that interference, and it was the kind of play the big-time players make. That was another hidden play.
Yeah.
It gave them a first down. It went on to get a very important lead-increasing field goal. Again, he won't get credit in the stats, but that's 40 yards for Calvin Ridley.
All right, coming up, we're going to go over the highlights from yesterday right here on Jags A.M.
For the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
The 2023 season is awesome. Introducing the Four-Legged Fan Club, the Jaguars' official fan club for pets. Presented by Forever Vets Animal Hospital, your furry friend can access exclusive merchandise, events, and sweepstakes throughout the season. Fan club members will be automatically entered to win the Pet of the Game sweepstakes with 2 Jags tickets and sideline passes for pet owners, and a chance for your pet to be featured on the video boards as Pet of the Game. Visit Jaguars.com/promotions/Four-Legged Fan Club to sign up.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium, because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern pit barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more, or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Move the freight, move the freight. Magellan Transport voted coolest office space in Jacksonville. Apply at MagellanLogistics.com. We're in a pretty cool office space for Jags A.M. We're at Hanbury Manor. I'm told to pronounce it like that by Brian Sexton. In the English countryside, and it is beautiful. And I didn't know that I enjoyed press conferences in greenhouses as much as I do until we had one last week at the Grove, and now I believe we're going to be doing that here as well. There's a lovely greenhouse behind us, and that should be our new environment.
It's
all
lovely.
greenhouse, no breaks.
This is the site of a 16th century manor. I mean, it goes
beautiful.
back a long way, and it's passed through some hands over time, and now Marriott uses it as a resort property, but there's some history here.
I think we're going to get a little tour later. And I think I like the greenhouse so much because it feels like Jacksonville weather inside, because it's nice and hot and humid. And I'm like, oh, it's like we're at home. So it feels very homey. Let's go over some of the highlights from yesterday because it was a good one. So let's start out with that 4th down conversion. Brian, you talked about that. Leading into Calvin. and it was that drive as a whole, because it really felt like nothing was really going for either team at that point, and it was tense. And then that kind of just set up, and it was like, okay, now we can move on from this touchdown.
Kai, it was a play that this team hadn't made the last couple of weeks, right? I mean, they had tried, and there was no connection. And there was no surprise to me, John, that the target was Christian Kirk, and Kirk talked about it. We heard him earlier say, settled at 8 yards, and he was right where the quarterback knew he was going to be. And Trevor just trusted it.
Yeah.
We've heard the word trust a lot about this football team, but we hadn't seen it.
Yeah, I thought there were a number of plays, and I really didn't get a chance to talk to Christian about it later, but it felt like Trevor sort of went back, okay, we're struggling a little bit. We're not quite as consistent as we want to be. I trust this guy. I know where he's going to be on plays. And there were some moments where on 3rd and big, if you will, he just said, I've worked with this guy longer than anybody else in the field right now. Evan Ingram, obviously. But that felt a little bit like 2021. I mean, not 2022 to me. It didn't feel like 2021, Brian. I don't want to ever feel that again.
That would not be good. We talked a ton about the defense already, but I don't know if we touched a ton on the turnovers. The interceptions back-to-back were huge, and that just really set the tone after kind of that breath of fresh air of the touchdown, and then the defense really just kind of took over at that point. To see Darius Williams, and then also we gave Andre Cisco a little bit of something because, he didn't return his pick six and then fumbled it a little bit. Darius was saying in the press conference they talked to him about ball security after that. But still, just to see that back-to-back really kind of changed the tempo going into half.
Well, it reminded me, I'm sure it did you, of the Jaguars' win over the Bills here in 2015. They had back-to-back plays just like that. One was a pick six. One set up a touchdown there. That's when I felt like, okay, they've got this one.
Yeah, I did too, except in the second half, I kept thinking this one feels like it's getting away, but I'm with you. Look, this is what the Jags defense is. We're 21 games or 21 regular season games into Mike Caldwell's tenure as coordinator. People and fans love to talk about what the Jaguars defense isn't. We heard that all off season. It's a turnover-creating defense. It was 4th in the NFL in creating takeaways last year. In 3 of 4 games, they've had 3 turnovers forced. I guess it's time to stop thinking it's a fluke. Yeah. I mean, this defense forces turnovers, and when they do, they're good.
We talked, John, you just said that third quarter kind of when things were a little iffy there, that touchdown where Ritter found London and the touchdown to kind of start things off in the second half. And that's when you were like, I think that's when I learned a lot about the team, I'll say, is that response to that, right? Because we've seen the things going off the rails the last couple of weeks when things like that happened, and the quick response to it, whether, it wasn't a touchdown necessarily right away, but the field goals kind of consistently holding the ball, that spoke a lot to me in terms of how this team is mentally now.
Yeah, it's important to remember it's the NFL, and
Teams
Robinson's really good. So he had a huge third quarter. I think it was 74 yards. And the Jags fan in you thinks, why can't they stop that guy? Well, because he's going to be Rookie of the Year, and he's probably going to be the best running back in the league for 4 or 5 years. That's going to happen. I thought the mental toughness story of the game for the Jaguars was in the second half, even when the offense didn't feel like everybody expected it to feel, everybody's frustrated with it. It had 2 big drives where they went down and got points. I think Doug Peterson likes that this morning. I think he likes that these guys, even when it wasn't going right and easy, it wasn't easy, but they got it done. Something tells me that's going to be a building block.
We talked last week about mismatches, about guys who were big and guys who were talented. Drake London had 2 catches. One was that touchdown. Kyle Pitts, 4th pick in the draft, had 2 catches for 21 yards, was essentially a non-factor. Jonnu Smith had a bigger day than he did, obviously. And then Bijan Robinson was a guy, you could take 2 of the 3 away, but you weren't going to take all 3 away. But the 2 that they took away helped them keep the score low, right? I mean, it worked for them. It was a good job in covering those big receivers.
It's a league of big plays and big moments.
Yeah.
Biggest moment was the 4th down when the Falcons had a chance to score, and Trayvon Walker and Trey Herndon got it done. I get the fans sort of being upset that it didn't look easier yesterday. But
why does it look easy in this league?
How many times, Brian,
Miami.
have we walked out of games where the Jaguars lost that game?
Oh.
They won it, and I think that's important.
Just
Obviously
win.
It's important.
Just win. That's the most important part. Hey, look, Miami, it looked easy 2 weeks ago, right? 70 points. Yesterday they gave up almost 50. So it's inconsistent. What's consistent is how hard it is to win in this game.
And when you talk about the fourth down, that's a little thing that, quote, may be overlooked. But if it went the other way, John, we would be talking about it for weeks because they didn't come through when they needed to.
Well, if it had gone the other way, it's all of a sudden a one-score game. And, I'm praising the offense for what it did in the second half. But you make that a one-score game with the offense with the ball, and all of a sudden those first 3 downs of the next drive are deciding the game. So I thought, once that was incomplete, I went ahead and finished my story for Jaguars.com. Before then, I was worried about it.
That PI penalty for Calvin Ridley, obviously he had the touchdown early in the first quarter, kind of helped himself get mentally right with everything. And then he was out there, as you mentioned, got a little frustrated because he didn't get the ball as much as he would have liked, but he was open.
He was open a lot, but Trevor was, and we talked about this last week, he was just looking at who was open in front of him, right? And that was going to be 17 and 13 primarily. And there were times where it looked like Calvin was open, but the safety was over the top, and Trevor didn't want to throw the ball and turn it over. So he kind of just took what was there in front of him. And I think it worked out okay. There's going to be days where Calvin Ridley's going to have 10 catches for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. His former team wasn't about to allow that.
Certainly not.
I got many emails yesterday saying, why didn't they take more chances? Why didn't they go downfield? One even asked, well, when you're ahead of a bad team, why don't you just take some chances? Well, you don't play in the NFL that way. You try to win the game. And I thought Trevor in the second half, avoid mistakes. Don't give the Falcons a way to get back in the game. I thought it was a nice job overall of them managing the situation and making sure they kept them at arm's length.
Game already in hand, but Josh Allen strip sack at the end. I mean, that was just kind of the cherry on top for the day for him.
That was a great play. I mean, that was a Derek Thomas-type pass rush where he ducked his shoulder. And that is a really good, that's a Matthews playing left tackle. There's been a long history of the Matthews family playing really well in professional football. And he ducked underneath him and just kept charging and got his hand out and got the ball. That's what he's capable of doing. We just haven't seen enough finish. That was a word that he used with us in a production meeting in Detroit back in August. He said, this year, I'm going to get paid if I finish. He finished yesterday.
Saving it for the hot take, Kai.
All right. He's on his way. Hot takes are up next. Stay with us here on Jags A.M. as we'll find out finally what John has a hot take on.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dream Finders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dream Finders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dream Finders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit DreamFindersHomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
The kick is up. It's good!
Score winning sub deals this Jaguars regular season at Firehouse Subs. Get 2 medium subs for just $10 after any game when the Jaguars kick a field goal of 40 yards or more. It's a bold deal for the bold city. Sign up at firehousesubs.com/field-goals for Firehouse for offer details and to automatically receive this offer when you use your Firehouse Subs rewards account. Redeemable only at participating Jacksonville and Orlando area restaurants. Only available on the Firehouse Subs app and online ordering.
I've traveled a lot to London the past 5 years, so for me personally, I kind of know what to do, when to sleep, how not to sleep, things to eat, things not to eat. I need to drink a lot of water on the flight. But for us, this is home for us. When we come here, we feel like it's a home game. We feel the excitement. We feel our fans. We feel the energy in the stands. So, so we love coming here. We know we got the back of all those fans out there, all 85,000, I believe, cheering for us. And it was a great feeling.
Well, Welcome back to Jags A.M., presented by Car Shield here today. And Josh Allen's got it all down pat. I mean, I know you guys got it down pat as well because you've been on all these trips as well. But it's old hat. London, he's got it under control.
I think when we say that the Jaguars have somewhat of an advantage playing here, even though they're 5-5 in their 10 games here, it's because there's a routine and they know it. They trust the logistics team for the Jaguars, what they do to get the team here, and the medical staff and what they say to do to be at your best. And the young guys follow him, and it works out pretty well.
Well, 5-5 in their last 10 games is pretty good considering they were well below 500 during most of that span. So, I think they do have a plan. I think they figured out sort of the timing of it coming over on Thursday, which they figured out a couple years into this 10-year period. And now this week, it will be interesting to see what the second week sort of staying here and how that preparation, because nobody's really done that before. Nobody's really come off of a game, had their Tuesday off, so to speak. So that's what we'll see this week.
A great team, and I think Buffalo's playing great right now, can negate the advantage.
I'm going to go with my hot take being this week. We're going to start off with me because why not?
Yeah,
ladies first this time.
It is
I think
proper
they needed,
British countryside etiquette.
It is. I think they needed the London trip right now. And I know there was talk about, getting out of town doesn't fix your problems. Everything's going wrong. You need to go home at some point. But this is their home away from home, and they do have this under wraps. And I think this is the best environment they can be in because there is a little bit of that training camp feel. Some teams go off to a college, kind of hunker down. There is that separation out here where I feel like when you're going to take on a team like the Bills, that will help insulate yourselves. Obviously, it helped them in the first game to be able to kind of go out there, not get the pressure off them, and then kind of go from there, see improvements, get that building block, as John would say, the building blocks as they get better.
I asked Josh Allen yesterday in the news conference after the game if he felt like the added time together, the us against the world sort of opportunity that persisted, was worth it, whether it meant anything to the overall outcome. And he didn't rubber stamp it and go absolutely. But he said, we spent more time together. We had more time to talk about the game plan, more time to talk about life, more time to get to know each other. And he says, and those are all important things when you're building a team.
Can't hurt. I mean, they won, so it worked. And, that camaraderie and that sort of focus, it certainly can't hurt going into a game. And I can't tell if it actually manifested itself. But, hey, 1-0 on this trip, Kai.
Let's do it. All right, John, you've been teasing the hot take. What is the hot take that you have?
Well, good for Josh Allen because, and you try not to let sort of personal feelings get in the way of, like, what you're saying about a team. But everybody who's been around this guy knows what a good kid he is. And I thought for 3 or 4 years he had been unfairly criticized a lot of times. He hasn't had the huge sack numbers, but this guy's been reliable. Last year, statistically, he was as good at pressuring the quarterback as almost anybody in the league. We are so sack-centric in the NFL right
basketball.
now that, Trayvon Walker had a sack yesterday. Well, it was a 0-yard play. His play that mattered is the one you're talking about. But the sack is what, in 2 or 3 weeks, hey, he's got another sack. So Josh consistently gets pressure. He has been fortunate enough this year to turn those pressures into sacks. Good for him. I hope he gets paid the whole thing. But good for Josh Allen, Brian.
Well, I like the guy a lot, too. Yeah, right, all right, here we go.
Those blocks.
Josh, and I think I've referenced this 5 or 6 times since Detroit, but he used the word finish, and he finished yesterday, and he's going to give Trent Baalke fits if he keeps playing like this because they've got a lot of intricate contracts. They've got a quarterback. They've got a cornerback. They may have a receiver, but you can't let a premier pass rusher go, right? So they're going to have to work some cap gymnastics if he keeps playing this way. And by the way, good.
Yeah, but if he plays like this, you're happy to do it.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, you're happy to do it.
What is your hot take, Brian?
I know you said this wasn't a must-win, but I'm calling this a season-saving win because I am much, much more optimistic about the Jaguars taking on this Bills team coming off of a win than if they were answering the losses again this week. It just felt like this team was in some sort of a morass. I mean, it was a pit, and they were trying to get out of it. And the questions you could see guys, they just wanted to get away from it. If they'd had to do that all week this week, I didn't like their chances against the Bills. And if you came home 1-4, Oh, boy. You get a Colts team. I don't know whether you saw them yesterday, but they were down 20-0 and rallied against the Rams, and they ended up losing in overtime. So they're playing well. You get them at home, and you're coming off a trip home. I mean, there was a cascading effect of a couple of losses that could send this season beyond their ability to rescue it. And I think yesterday planted their flag firmly in the ground and gives them a chance now to go play well and to play with confidence. So from that sense, I thought it was a season-saving win.
Yeah, even though it wasn't must-win, I sort of agree with you. The must-win thing.
No, I get it.
Had they gone 1-3, you come back and you win 3 or 4 games.
Sure, you can win
fine.
some games that you weren't expected to win or that you didn't think you might.
Before we finish this one up, Doug Peterson, I think it's valuable right now for the Jaguars to have him as the head coach because he has navigated through early season weirdness all of his career. When I was 16 or 17, Brian, my dad had an LTD. Remember the old LTDs?
I do. My dad had
and
one too.
It had no power steering.
Was it the sedan or was it the station wagon?
It was a sedan, but it was like 35 feet long.
So like a station wagon.
Hard to steer, and you always felt like you were trying to keep it on the road. That's what it feels like Doug's doing right now because he has such a great long-term perspective. Even though he's talking about short-term urgency, he also knows that as long as you can get to 2-2 or 3-3, 4-3, 5, as long as you can get there, it's about getting hot at the end of the season. Jaguars followers haven't been good in a while, so they don't really realize this happens early in seasons. I think Doug's doing a nice job driving the LTD.
Keeping us on the rails, keeping us on the roads.
His dad probably had an LTD, too. I'm going to have to ask him.
My dad sure did, and he couldn't wait to get rid of it.
All right, one of our presenting sponsors today is Forever Vets Animal Hospital. You can sign up your furry friend for the Jaguars official four-legged fan club for pets. You can check that out at jaguars.com/four-legged fan club to sign up. Stay with us as we preview what we got going on the rest of the week. We'll be right back here on Jags A.M.
Jaguars fans, huddle up for the best defense against expensive car repairs, CarShield. Score big with the nation's #1 automotive protection company, CarShield. They offer affordable plans that cover over 6,000 parts and systems in your car, truck, or SUV. Don't miss any Jaguars action this season with a car breakdown. Call the MVPs at CarShield for their best coverage ever. Call 800-471-1223. 800-471-1223. Go Jags!
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dreamfinders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
Your hometown gate now has more ways to save. Introducing My Gate Rewards, a new loyalty program with member-exclusive savings and fuel discounts. Earn points on in-store purchases, take advantage of special offers, and save on products you love. Score free coffee, fountain drinks, pizza, and soft serve with Gate's frequent shopper clubs. Then use your points on savings at the pump. Download the My Gate Rewards app in the App Store today or ask a store associate for more information. Go from good to Gate.
Over to zipchair.com to browse all customizable options. Zipchair is furniture for fans. So we're spending our week here in London, or England, I should say. Hanbury Manor is north of London. And the team will be here for a full week, so that'll be a little bit weird for them, but they've got it down pat at this point. So things should go as planned. I do want to quickly talk about the story of the week, really, the Toy Story game.
Oh, I thought it was Taylor Swift.
Oh, stop. We're not a Chiefs show. I will not talk Taylor on
I think
this
it's
show.
an NFL thing, but I'll just leave the conspiracy theories to rest.
This is much more important.
I don't think they're really dating.
The Pixar game from Andy's room for Toy Story was, I haven't watched the full thing, excellent. I love it. I think it's great for the kids. It looked really cool. And to watch it comparatively, they did a lot of side-by-side screens of the actual real game. It's awesome how accurate it is. Did you guys get to see any of it?
I saw some of it, too. I thought It was brilliant. My oldest grew up in the original Toy Story era, so I know the characters. I just, man, Disney put on a show with that. And when you're talking about trying to attract a younger audience, especially in such a diversified media environment that they're living in these days, I thought the NFL hit a home run.
Yeah, I watched Toy Story 1 and 2 endlessly with my son. I have not seen this.
So
Heard it's
nostalgia.
fantastic, and I'm not surprised. They used to do a good job with these sorts of things.
On one of the, I guess it was it B? No, it was the return. It was the Darius Williams return. They said that his feet were on fire, and they literally had a flame of fire behind his feet. I mean,
Yes.
it was just
Trevor had a bunch of fire flames runs as well because he's running all over the place. And then
great.
the defense had their planned celebration. I didn't realize after the fact. I thought it was bowling, but it was actually a Toy Story reference because when Andy comes into his room in Toy Story, for all of you unfamiliar, all the toys go back to being toys and they're not alive anymore. And that's what the touchdown celebration was when Darius Williams got the pick 6.
And out of all the things we heard yesterday, the win was great. That is really, really cool for them to have thought of that and taken the time to do that as a celebration. That's really cool.
I know. I'm going to have to do some investigative journalism and figure that out. I will get the answer for you guys, I promise. Thanks for joining us here for Jags A.M. on Victory Monday from Hanbury Manor in the English countryside. We'll be back with you on Wednesday and Thursday this week as we preview the game against the Bills.